As a no-state fan, it feels like we've waited our entire lives to be part of these marquee non-conference games. Getting Oregon and Bama to Stillwater is huge. So to keep reading that Alabama's probably going to try to snake their way on out of this deal, it hurts the heart a bit, but at least it does give us so much room for scheduling activities.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are we feeling, Big 12 country? Shout out to the regulators, a.k.a. everydayers. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your top stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms that visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at All Day State. Today, we're partially brought to you by Game Time Tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON, all one word, for $20 off your purchase. Get squared away with Game Time Tickets today. Meanwhile, we get to get squared away in this Alabama game conversation, or a lack thereof an Alabama game conversation, which, if it is true, and it does kind of come to fruition, that Alabama is going to back out of these games against Oklahoma State. Does it hurt? Absolutely. We've been waiting forever for these opportunities. And, I understand that when the games were announced, things were a little bit different in Stillwater, but we seem to be going through a little bit of a rebuilding, aka resurgence mode, with Eric Morris and Raj Murdy and all of this new staff coming in. It does feel like Oklahoma State has a solid footing in being a competent program once again in the 2026 season. However, not being able to bank on playing Alabama later, that stinks. We've been waiting our whole lives for this. We've been waiting on these Oregon moments. And yes, the Oregon game did not go super well. And the Oregon game this upcoming season may not go as bad, but it may not go swimmingly for the Cowboys yet either. Because, it's week 2. We got a lot to break in, a lot of schematics to kind of work over. I don't know that we'll be in a good position by week 2. So looking forward, we're like, okay, well, we're not going to be ready for Oregon. That's on us, but we will be ready for Alabama. To keep reading in multiple places now that Alabama is likely to try to get out of a game in their 2028, 2029 kind of time frame. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be Oklahoma State, right? They're not going to get rid of Ohio State in 2028. They're not going to get rid of Notre Dame in 2029. And they're not going to get rid of UT Martin in 2028 either, right? So that leaves Oklahoma State as the team that is the most likely to get pushed off the board, because UT Martin's a guaranteed dub for Alabama. We get it. With Ohio State now kind of taking shots, saying we would never remove Alabama from the schedule because we're not scared to play anybody. They should be afraid of us. With Ohio State AD saying that, it makes it kind of difficult for Alabama to get out of the game. So we become the pawn that is allowed to get pushed around. And we'll talk about it, whether it be Bill Hastings or a newspaper in Tuscaloosa or Robert Allen. There does seem to be a prevailing thought that Alabama is not going to play everybody on their schedule, and Oklahoma State is likely the team to be shuffled off of the board because we're not Ohio State's AD, and we don't carry that level of cachet, unfortunately. I also do think there's a component of they cannot afford a loss to an Oklahoma State, right? They know they're not going to lose to UT Martin. They could lose to Ohio State, and that's okay. They could lose to Notre Dame, and that's okay. Losing to Oklahoma State, it's not okay. It's not okay for propaganda purposes. It's not okay for the SEC's, propping up of themselves purposes. It's not good for them to have Oklahoma State on the schedule. Whenever Oklahoma State has gone through a couple terrible years, you could make the argument that if we were continuing the Mike Gundy ways of winning 8 to 10, 11 games a year, that we could view Alabama as dodging Oklahoma State if they were to try to remove us. But unfortunately, that isn't the case. So we kind of tripped and fell into a justification for them. But as we alluded to, Robert Allen wrote a little piece on this, and he expounded upon what Bill Hastings wrote in regards to, this game probably being pushed off. And I will admit, with Robert Allen here, he said the series was announced in the summer of 2021, and it was a big-time series with Oregon, Arkansas, Colorado, Nebraska were all announced in that same time frame. Oklahoma State football was a yearly top 15 program and recognized as such, which made them an attractive school to schedule. Television would be exciting about those contests. Momentum could be seized and resumes enhanced with a non-conference win over Oklahoma State. So yes, at the time, it did make sense. Unfortunately, because of the last 2 seasons, we have given them an out. We have given Alabama the ability to say, when we did it, you were good, but you're not as good anymore. And we just don't want to mess with it, which is kind of crazy because I think that even Alabama would admit by 2028, if things go well for Coach Eric Morris, Raj Murdy, and the whole new crew, that will be a completely different ball club by 2028. We will be a team, if things go well, that can compete with Alabama, potentially even beat Alabama by 2028 relatively easily. But again, we gave them this out. We gave them this window of speculation on whether this is going to be the right move moving forward, whatever ridiculousness they throw out. At the end of the day, it does at least give us more room for opportunities here. So if Alabama were to withdraw from their 2028, 2029 commitment to the home and home series with Oklahoma State, I wanted to talk about some options, okay, that could fulfill that role. Number one or number five, we'll work up to one, probably is the most obvious. I think we should try. And I know I haven't looked at their schedules in 2028, 29, so I don't even know if it's physically possible. But ideal scenarios, if Oklahoma State was to get in contact with somebody to replace Alabama, I would love it to be one of these five. Texas. One of the biggest reasons is we dominated them for so long under Mike Gundy that it did give us a solid footing when it came to recruiting. And yes, even in that time frame, Mike Gundy was reluctant at times to take swings at like the 5-star, consensus 4-star level dudes, even with the respect and cachet he had built up. That was where I think Eric Morris is different. Eric Morris is going to take those swings. He's going to go after those guys. There's not going to be a blue chip from Austin, Texas that concerns Eric Morris. If you're a blue chip from Austin, Texas, he doesn't give a flying flip. He's going to try to go get you, which is new. So if we were to get back into some contention with Texas and we were to be successful, that would uptick, in my opinion, the recruiting, because Texas is still the 40 acres. All eyes are still on Texas. So if you're a recruit growing up in Texas, look at the Ollie Gordon effect. I mean, yeah, he got a Texas offer, but it was at the very, very end, right before National Signing Day. So he felt kind of disrespected. We could get a lot more Ollie Gordons, in my opinion, if you do have Texas on the schedule, at least sporadically over the next decade plus. Another team, right? We talk about the potential for realignment and will there be a couple Big 12 teams go? And will we scoop a couple ACC teams up? Well, based off of that, there's a couple ACC schools that I'd like to see Oklahoma State go up against. One of those being Louisville. I understand that Coach Brom's got that thing rocking and rolling, but there's a ton of similarities between Oklahoma State and Louisville over the last 25 years. They've had years where they've jumped up and won 10, 11 games, and then they've gone down. That's the difference between Oklahoma State and Louisville, is up until the last 2 seasons, our down years were 7 wins. Louisville would have down years of 3-4 wins, and then they have these big-time up years. The consistency with Oklahoma State is comparable to some of the big-time moments that Louisville's had. They're not as consistent as Oklahoma State, but there's a lot of commonality. There's a lot of similarities in a multitude of sports. In my opinion, that would be a fun matchup. Another one from the ACC that does a lot of talking crap. I don't even remember why Oklahoma State social media got into it with Pitt social media a year ago or a couple years ago. But whatever the case may be, Pitt created a little bit of animosity there between Oklahoma State fans. And there was a lot of, well, you guys could never compete. You could never be Pitt. You could never be as good as us because we have this. And back in the 30s and the 50s, and it just went back and forth. So because of all of that back and forth, I think it would be cool to see that there is a clear delineation between what Pitt thinks they used to be and what Oklahoma State has been for the better part of the last 2 decades, aside from the last couple of years. Additionally, it would be nice to put a whooping on our brethren from West Virginia's biggest rival, basically. How about Notre Dame, right? It's fun to talk about us being undefeated against Alabama. It's fun to talk about being able to beat Notre Dame in the 2021 Fiesta Bowl. So why not give us another crack at Notre Dame? This is a school that needs help with their scheduling. I don't know if you've seen this upcoming schedule, but it is atrocious for Notre Dame. They don't have hardly any legitimate competition outside of teams like BYU. So they're going to end up in the playoffs this season because their schedule is so squishy, Charmin level soft that they should probably uptick that. And I think in the future, if Notre Dame's going to be serious about taking care of their business to get in the CFP, they should be scheduling more legitimate teams and legitimate brands. And then lastly, probably not a big surprise to everybody here, I want Bedlam back. I know some of you guys don't. I have seen it in the comments, and you guys can get firing away in the everydayer Discord about it. But I think it absolutely has to happen. We need these marquee games, again, a little bit more than they do. We need the wins in in-state recruiting a little bit more than they do. And also, I think donors need to see this is the biggest Achilles heel under Mike Gundy was this Bedlam game. Yes, his last couple attempts, he got it done. 2 out of the last 3, it's wonderful. But I do firmly believe that Bedlam in the state of Oklahoma is going to be big time for recruits. It's going to be big time for NIL donations. If you can win Bedlam, you're going to get more donors involved. That's just how it goes. So let me know down in the comment section for all you fine folks out here on YouTube. But what do you think about that lineup? Would you add a team, take away a team? Did I miss a team? Did one of the teams I list absolutely make 0 sense to you? Let me know down in the comment section.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Number 1 ranked UConn dominated St. John's 85-49 on Sunday at Madison Square Garden, extending its winning streak to 47 games. The Huskies capped a perfect 31-0 regular season, including 20-0 in the Big East. UConn is winning by nearly 38 points per game, the 3rd largest average margin in Division I history. Since 1999 to 2000, UConn has 9 undefeated regular seasons, as many as all other programs combined, and has turned 6 of those into national championships. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
And for all you looking for a little bit more, make sure you go check out the Everydayers Club. I just put it up on the screen. It's a LockedOnOklahomaState.supercast.com. You can see the show ad-free. You can get in there. You can chop it up with all the other Oklahoma State fans about a multitude of subjects. So feel free to go check out the Everydayer Club, or as I like to call them, the Regulators. Get in on that action. Anywho, we get to move into segment 2 here. The Big 12 tournament is about to come up, and the Cowboys got a pretty fun win last night over UCF, scored a ton of points, got a lot of contributions from Jalen Curry and Kanye Clary, and Anthony Roy had a big night, and we absolutely had to see it because Victorious Miller obviously got banged up at some point in time. It looked like a little bit of an ankle injury. Andre Vukovic had a big game. He had some rebounds that really put Oklahoma State in a position to win in overtime. Because when that overtime thing kind of came to, it wasn't looking great for Oklahoma State in regards to foul trouble and how many guys we had available and things of that nature. And when you know you're already missing parts of Fala, it felt like the fouls and the rebounds were going to become a major component in that overtime. Thanks to Andre Vukovic, we got enough rebounds and we kept the ball out of their hands long enough to get ourselves a pretty quality W. Now we enter into the NCAA tournament, but the fouls, a little bit concerning, right? And we've been on the other end of this. I think in this game, there was like 85 foul shots, almost 55 fouls called. And it was very comparable in the game that we played against Arizona. We got absolutely demolished in that game. So, at the end of the day, you can't fault the refs all the time. But as we're trying to uptick the marketability, the visibility of the Big 12, and we're doing some fun things with the court, I absolutely hated it when I first saw it, and I questioned whether a glass court was going to be good for health, injuries, things of that nature. I mean, it's been played on before. It's not like actually a glass floor, so it does change that a little bit. I like some of the ideas. Brett Yormark has been the visionary kind of dude, but Brett Yormark also needs to pay attention to the refs that are going to be taking place in this. Whenever you look at Oklahoma State games this season, it felt like the fouls in the Big 12 were a little bit crazier than everybody else, and that's not the case, right? I did some Googling, some AI Googling, and we're not the worst in the Big 12. So I think it may be an individual case-by-case basis. And if that is the case, then hopefully Brett Yormark pays attention to, or whoever's in the Big 12 offices, that the pace of play, it's so hard. It's hard for any team to get into any semblance of a rhythm when you have like 85, 82, 84, 87 free throws in a game. Like, that's incredible. I mean, it's a good way to get points up, I guess, but at the same point in time, it makes it very, very difficult as a fan to enjoy the game. So part of what the Big 12 is doing is trying to get more visibility. As much as the people want to complain about the court, it will bring more eyeballs in, because even the haters, like I was originally, and I'm still leaning in that hater mode, but we're going to tune in, because we want to see what that ridiculous or super awesome court looks like, contingent upon what aisle you fall on. But I think the refs need to be a strong point. Now, you'd imagine, like most other things, that the refs get scores, and then you get rewarded the biggest games based on the scores in the season. That's how most referees are done through most leagues. So I'd assume the Big 12 is no different. But I'm curious about what the governing body would do, or how that is tracked, or which refs call the most fouls during particular ball games, or which refs call the most fouls on particular ball clubs. But at the end of the day, the Big 12 isn't the most egregious. According to Google AI, I just simply said, which Power 4 conference referees call the most fouls this season? I assumed it would be the Big 12 at the top. It's not. It's the SEC. SEC referees call 16.9 fouls per game. Big 10, 16.8 per game. ACC, 16.4. Big 12, we're at the bottom. According to Google AI, Big 12 referees only call 16.2 fouls per team. Now, surely there is ways to track it, but let me know down in the comments. Are you concerned at all about the foul trouble nonsense and how it completely derails the pace of play? And I'm only saying that because, as an Oklahoma State fan, I'll admit that the pace of play is beneficial to us. Whenever you slow the game down and you turn this thing into half-court sets, we're not typically going to be the team that rises to the top. But remember some of the Bob Huggins, West Virginia days. If you turn this thing into a chaotic track meet of a mess where we can just out-athlete you and mitigate the foul trouble situations, then we've got a shot, right? If we can get you running up and down the court and getting in your reserves quicker than normal and playing more guys than normal, that works well for Oklahoma State, right? So, and I understand that the transition aspect of the game can be problematic at times for refs, because you are moving at a completely, fast pace, and you're trying to make bang bang calls. So I get it. I just hope that if we're trying to get better with viewership, and we're trying to get other fans from other conferences that want to check out that crazy court and then get them to stay, the game's got to be exciting. It's got to be exhilarating. It's got to be worth the watch. And I'm sorry, if you're calling fouls every 2 seconds on every team, every time anybody drives to the lane to do anything, it's going to be problematic. But again, if you watched like the Houston, Arizona game, they weren't hardly calling any fouls. So I guess it's just, who the refs are, like according to Google AI. Individual leaders, such referees as Christian Watson and Bill DiPrano are currently among the nation leaders in the most fouls called per game, and they primarily cover SEC and Big 10 games. So who are our Christian Watsons? Who are our Bill DiPranos in the Big 12? I'm not saying that we need to let everything go and we need to let this thing become a boxing match on a basketball court. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is, like, some of this has got to be, I don't know, viewed with a broader context, because you want fouls called. But you don't want every single ticky-tacky little bitty thing called all friggin' game, because then if you're not a fan of that team, the likelihood of you watching that game is going to be very, very small. I'm sure we've all done it. I mean, I've done it on NBA games. Like, I can't do this. There's no pace of play. There's no momentum. There's no back and forth. It's just whistle after whistle after whistle after whistle. It's hard to watch. So hopefully we have a pretty good understanding strategically of which refs call the dumbest fouls and which refs understand that sometimes you need to call some fouls to manage a game. Sometimes you need to let the game go. Hopefully those are the dudes in charge of the Big 12 tournament. Because if it's anything like the Oklahoma State-Arizona game or the Oklahoma State win over UCF, you have to be a fan of those schools to watch those games. Because with 75 million foul calls, it's really hard. It's really hard as a fan of basketball to watch any game in any conference against any teams where there's more fouls called than attempts to shoot the ball. Like, it's absolute insanity. So hopefully the Big 12 refs are the ones that are dialed in the most to not allow craziness, but at least allow them to play the game. This is supposed to be a somewhat physical brand in the Big 12. So let them play with some physicality. Let them get prepared for March Madness. Speaking of getting prepared, you need to do the same thing with your taxes. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. Trying to book an appointment, that's not the most convenient. Sitting in a waiting room with stacks of papers, emailing back and forth, and wondering if they're really going to get to your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert on your documents, get them uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. With TurboTax expert working to get you every single dollar that you deserve while you get real-time notification as you go on about your day. It's the relief of, walking in a meeting and a real person has the ability to give you that confidence, knowing that your taxes are being handled the right way by the right people. Head on over to turbotax.com/local to find your store near you to book your appointment. Get with TurboTax today to get rid of the confusion, chaos, and the craziness of tax season. Game Time Tickets is the bee's knees for all of your ticketing getting needs. So get with Game Time today. The biggest stretch of college basketball is almost here. The buzzer beaters, the bracket busters, the unforgettable moments that everyone's going to be talking about at the water cooler at work. But being there live, that's how to win the water cooler conversations. That's a bucket list kind of thing. The hard part, though, is typically getting the tickets. The long waits, the prices jumping around, surprise fees at checkout. The Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans with constant innovations. And how amazing it's going to be for you, the experience, the tickets, just a few taps. It's incredibly simple to use. The Game Time guarantee means that 100% legitimate tickets delivered on time at the best price. And the best part, the fees are included in the price that you see. So what you see is what you pay. The seat view is an absolute game changer. The 360-degree panoramic. The zone deals let you pick the section and save even more while Game Time selects the exact seats. You're going to love being able to follow the teams in the app and get alerts when new deals are dropping. Take the stress work, take the guesswork out of you getting tickets. Just smooth experiences from start to finish. That's exactly what you want during the busiest part of the year. Take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets with Game Time. Download Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Make sure you download the Game Time app, create that account, and redeem that code Locked On for $20 off. Go download Game Time today, where you can get the bee's knees for all of your ticketing needs. All right, we'll keep it rolling here. Wrestling is upon us, and the Cowboys do have some favorites. We covered a little bit of this, but I wanted to kind of jump in a little bit heavier here. We have the number one dude at 125 pounds, of course, Troy Spratley. but he does have some competition. Last year, he was beat out of the Big 12 tournament by Jeff Strickenberger, West Virginia. So there's a little bit of should be animosity there. Stevie Poulin, a very, very big deal out of Iowa State. So those are a couple dudes to pay attention to. We also got the one of the best guys at 133 who probably should be number one, but he's not. He's going to go in as a little bit of an underdog, whether it be Evan Frost from Iowa State or Kyler Larkin from Arizona State. Jax Forrest, according to the Big 12, has got some work to do, and he's got some things to take care of. Sergio Vega, however, is a little bit different. He is projected, much like Troy Spratley, to take the title in the Big 12s. We saw his match against Echemedia from Iowa State. That's probably going to be another war if they match up. You got Hayden Drury from Utah Valley, Julian Tagg, South Dakota State, Mearson Manville, Arizona State. A decent enough amount of competition. How Casey Swiderski got the number one seed for the Big 12s, I do not know, but he has been hot recently, and he's dealt with a couple of injuries here and there. That has still allowed him to bring in the number one ranking into the Big 12 tournament, followed by Jacob Frost at Iowa State, not Ohio State, Iowa State, David Evans of Utah Valley, and Josh Edmond from Mizzou. Next up for the Cowboys, I think it makes a lot of sense for us to keep rocking this Landon Robidoux business, and Landon Robidoux is going to have a big opportunity here as either number one, number two, but he is currently behind Caleb Larkin from Arizona State, right in front of Zurban from Iowa State and Ty Waters from West Virginia. So Landon Robidoux, he's not going to have an easy go of it, but he definitely has the ability here. D. Lockett, they project him as the winner. We know Ryder Downey is going to bring him everything he wants. Nico Ruiz, Max Mayfield. Yeah, there's going to be some individuals that put up a fight for D. Lockett. Alex Facundo being number one. I guess we could agree, probably a little bit of a surprise here, but he did already beat Carter Schubert. MJ Guyton is going to be a hell of a matchup. Keep an eye on Cameron Steed, though. If you watched the Nationals last year, Steed from Mizzou made a really big push and was a very, very big problem for a lot of the top ranked wrestlers. I can't speak English. You know this. How about some of the bigger fellows? Zach Ryder, currently sitting at number 2 behind Aiden Sinclair of Mizzou and in front of Nightenbach from Wyoming. So Zach Ryder is not projected to win. That could be pretty fun. How about at 197? Cody Merrill being a 3 seed is a little surprising, but Joey Novak from Wyoming is a bad mamma jamma, and Rocky Elam at Iowa State is number 1 in the country, or number 1 in this tournament for a reason. How about number 1 in the country? That is Younger Bastida, the heavyweights, with Christian Carroll, former Cowboy at Wyoming, being number 2, and number 3 is our own Connor Doucette. So it's kind of cool that we have some guys projected to win. We have some guys that are projected to have to put in some work, and we have some guys that are projected to be kind of in the middle of no man's land. But worst case scenario, the Cowboys should have top 3 finishes at every single weight at the Big 12s, but that doesn't send the right example or message. If we really want to prove that we're going to give Penn State at least a little bit of a run for their money, we've got to make a statement here in the Big 12s. I think everybody recognizes or realizes that we are likely to win. Iowa State could be problematic, but the Cowboys should win the Big 12 tournament. Everybody gets that. It's about how emphatically it's done. Do the Cowboys crank up the bonus points in the Big 12s to prove that we can do it again in the Nationals? That's what I'm going to be looking for, not the wins. We should be winning. It's the bonus points, and we need to be looking at bonus points from some of the guys that traditionally don't get bonus points, like Zach Ryder, like Alex Facundo. Recently, Cody Merrill's been doing it, but we need it seeded out of Connor Doucette, too. Anyway, that's all we're going to have for this one. Right. Share, as always, I love you. God bless. God, go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here in Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you liked it. Dislike if you didn't. That's okay, too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm podcasting people out there. You're everything that makes this work. I appreciate what you do. So go do what you do. Hit the stars. leave some reviews. Alrighty, y'all. Later, taters.